What's up? It's Kelly and I am the captain of Even Keel Ops. And in today's video, we're going to talk about tracking and managing your online content using Airtable.
Okay, before we discuss tracking your online content with Airtable, I want to tell you a little bit about how I have previously been tracking my online content. I have been using this editorial calendar that I had set up for my written blog posts and a very similar editorial calendar board that I have set up for my YouTube content. Once it made it from post idea to done, the idea was that I'd move it over here to this blog post index that I had created in Google Sheets. Now, this is not very pretty, it's not very useful, and I'm kind of embarrassed to show it to you because even I can do a better job with Google Sheets than this. But it is what it is. This is what I was working from. It's ugly and it's not very useful. So I needed something different, especially for this portion of my tracking. So I decided to check out Airtable. Airtable works with bases, and each base is just like a sheet in Google. You can start with one sheet and add additional sheets for tracking information. And that's what I did with my content management base. So as I said, I started setting up my blog post index first before realizing that I could actually move my entire editorial process into Airtable here. So let's start by going over the sections that I created for my blog post index and editorial calendar, because now my index and editorial calendar is all here in one sheet. It's not in two separate places. So I have a status that lets me know whether I guess we'll start. I have the blog post title to start with. This field is defaulted to name when you set up your base in Airtable. I changed this from single line text to long text because some of my blog post titles are super long. However, there's a whole array of options that you can choose from here. And the same goes with each of these columns over here. So the next thing I set up was a status, and I used single select with color on because color makes life better in my opinion. So I set up whether it was an idea, outlined, drafted, scheduled, or posted, very similar to what I have set up over here in Trello, as you can see. So then I decided I would add whether there was a due date, whether there was an opt-in included like you saw on my Google Sheets, and as you can see, some of them there is a yes here, they're not all no's. What type of opt-in was it? Was it a Trello board, a checklist, a template, a guide? What am I offering along with this blog post? What is the link to that opt-in? If it's a Trello board, what's the link to the Trello board? If it's a checklist, where in my Google Drive is it saved? What is the associated sales funnel in my email marketing system to this opt-in? I'm tracking that here as well. The YouTube video record that links to the blog post. So say I have a blog post like I do about creating an operations manual in Trello. And I also have a linked YouTube video. Now I can link the record, how to set up an operations manual in Trello over here, to my blog post index. As you can see, I can then open the YouTube record that's on the YouTube index without leaving my blog post index. So I can review the information on the video and the blog post from the same index. Next, I added the link to the blog post so I can find it without having to go back through my blog, and any related images that are saved with that blog post. Now, if you want to see all of this information in a single record, you can click on these little arrows over here, which expands your record, and then you can see your blog title, your status, your due date. Any information that you have saved here is located in this one record, as well as your revision history for this specific record, so you can see the changes you've made and the information you've added and when that was done. So once I set up my blog post index and realized that I could use it for tracking my editorial board too, as you can see, we're now recording using Airtable to track your online content, which we'll post next week. Hello to everybody watching. I decided that I needed a YouTube index that was similar, so I set up a YouTube index. Very similar with the title, the status, a due date, the video link, the post link, a thumbnail image, And again, I linked this back to the blog post index records. So now I can see the related blog post information without having to leave the YouTube index file over here. Next, I decided I could track my guest posting here too. So I'm doing guest posting this year and next year. So where can I guest post? What's the location? What's the status? How do I submit? What's the link to my draft? What's the link to the post if it's accepted? Were there any post extras included? Attach them here. So I'm tracking all of that here in my content management base as well. Next year in 2018, I hope to be a guest on some podcasts. So here I am tracking my podcast pitches for 2018. I haven't made any of those yet, but I am set up and ready to go. Now, over here in Trello, you'll notice that I track tools and processes as well as swipe files. And I wanted to do the same thing in Airtable. And the great thing about Airtable is they offer you different views. So once I had the grid view set up here with the name and the type and the link and the notes, I could change it to Kanban View. And now I can see, here's my tool list, here's my swipe file list, and it looks very similar to what I have set up over here in Trello. Now, the one thing that I love about Trello that I don't have in Airtable are the checklists. Using these checklists gives you an idea of where you are with a workflow and how close you are to being done. You can copy them to another card and use them over and over and over again. Airtable does not yet have anything similar, although I have seen the requests that they added. So for now, I have my workflow set up over here with a completed checkbox, and I will complete everything and then uncomplete it as I work. It's not the most efficient process, but overall, the tracking process is more efficient with Airtable, so I'm willing to do this one little out-of-the-way thing to track my workflows as well. So let's talk a little bit more about views. As I mentioned, your default view is the grid spreadsheet view. But I like Kanban views. And with Airtable, I can set up more than one Kanban view. So look, I can view my blog post index by status. Now I can see if it's an idea, if it's outlined, if it's drafted, if it's scheduled. I can click on a record and view the full information here the same way that I could from the grid view. There's a default uncategorized column here with Airtable that doesn't come set up with Trello. I don't like it, but I don't have to see it. I can collapse it and it's totally out of the way. I also set up a Kanban style by opt-in. Did it have one? Did it not have one? Again, I can hide this stack over here of uncategorized things, so I'm only looking at posted things that either have or do not have opt-ins. The final view I set up for my blog post index, of course, was the due date view. This is my editorial calendar. If I had more than one blog post idea that had a due date, we could scroll through this calendar and see that information. Of course, you can see that I currently only have Airtable set up. I can look at a mini record view, or I can expand the record and view the entire thing from this view. And I can switch back and forth between grid view and each of my Kanban views and my calendar view without losing or resorting any of my information. So I love this content management tracking system that I've set up in Airtable, and I've decided that it's time to check out other ways that I can use Airtable. So I'm working on tracking my business friends and contact information there. I have my business planning, and I'm working on setting it up here. So if you're interested in either of those two things, you should subscribe and stay tuned, because it's very possible that I will be doing a how-to tutorial video on those things as well. So if you have any questions about Airtable and getting started, pop them in the comments and let me know. I am excited about this system here, and I'm excited to help you get started using it. So this will be our last episode until after the 31st of December. So we'll see you in the new year with EKO TV. Have a great new year and a happy holidays. Bye.